Okay, so I'm just going to go through this question again. Chapter 1 quiz. Each of the following is a test of whether or not something is a fixture, except method of attachment. We know method of attachment is whether if something is damaged when you took it down. Well, if that's the case, then it was a fixture and it should have stayed. Adaptability is something that was custom made for that home and it's supposed to stay. But I'll tell you what doesn't matter, the cost. The cost doesn't matter. And I don't care if it's $1 or $1 million. Once it's installed, it is now a fixture. And of course, we know relationship to the parties has to do with landlord-tenant. All right, let's go to question number 2. Which of the following would be the best definition of an appurtenance? The right to cross the land of another, items or rights that would ordinarily pass with the sale of real property, right to water from a flowing source, or the land and the improvements. What do you guys think? What's the best definition of an appurtenance?
I keep reading the right to cross, but I know that's easements. I'm like, wait, because that's exactly yeah.
So yep. So we're gonna skip A because we know that that's an easement.
Right.
So what's next? What is the right to water from a flowing source? What's that one again? Remember running water? What is that one?
That's the R one.
Yes, riparian. That's
riparian.
So yes. That's riparian, right? So we know that that's not it. So we can cross off C. The land and improvements. Does that sound like an appurtenance? Or is it items or rights that would ordinarily pass that run with the land? What do you think?
I think it's B.
B, right? It's the same thing as runs with the land. Items or rights that would ordinarily pass with the sale of the real property, which means it runs with the land. It stays with the land, right? You can't take it with you. It's something that stays with the land, okay? And you know land and improvements is real estate, right? All right, so let's go. Actually, guys, what I want to do right now. Okay, so chapter 2, physical and economical land characteristics. So there's 3 physical and 5 economical characteristics that you do need to know. So the 3 physical characteristics, the 3 of them are immobility. What does that mean? It means land can't be moved. So where it is located, right? Where it's located determines or affects its value. All right. So again, immobility, you can't move the land. And every piece of land is very, very unique. Okay. Indestructibility talks about how land cannot be destroyed. If I were to take these woods in the back behind this for sale by owner sign and I would have lighted on fire, it would all burn down. But guess what? I didn't destroy anything. It's going to grow right back. So this is one of the reasons why we do not insure our land. We only insure the structure. So if your homeowner's insurance is charging you for the land, well, then you need to call your homeowner's insurance and tell them you don't want to insure the land. There's no reason to insure land because it doesn't get destroyed. Only the structure does, right? And then there's non-homeogenic. In some books, you'll see it called heterogeneity. Same thing. Every single piece of property is unique. You're unique in size, unique in shape, unique in location, right? So when we walk into a house, which is why I know that Zillow will never replace us, because Zillow has no way, computers have no way to be able to.
I'm having trouble hearing you.
Sorry, my watch decided it didn't hear me. Nobody's talking to you, watch. Okay, sorry. So when Zillow is never going to replace us, because when we drive up and we actually notice the topography and the shape and the size and the condition of the land. And then more importantly, we walk into the home and there's 2 things that we have that Zillow does not have. One of them is our nose. When we walk in that house, the smell of a home is a huge, huge indicator of the price. Why? Because homes that have strong smells, whether it be cooking smells, pet smells, smoking, or any type of like moisture, so you can smell like mold or just moisture, dampness, those are all not good. Okay, they're not good at all. And it greatly, greatly affects the value, more than people realize. Like way more than people realize. So we have that nose. And unfortunately, the homeowners are typically nose blind, right? I know you guys have seen those commercials. Same thing in my house. I have 4 dogs and 2 cats. I can almost guarantee you, even though we sweep and mop every single night and we don't have any carpet in our whole house, I can already tell you it probably smells like pets in my house unless I really deep clean it because I know someone's coming over, right? Other than that, on a daily basis, I don't smell it because I'm used to my pets, right? So it's just the way it is. Now, if I were going to sell my house, obviously the pets would have to be removed temporarily. There's no way that I could sell a home with all these pets in here. I just can't do it. But some people have to. And so we have to be strong enough to say it without offending them, right? And there's lots of ways to do that you'll learn later. You won't learn in this class, unfortunately, because I can't teach that stuff, but I will just tell you, every piece of property is unique. And that determines the value. It plays a huge part in the value of the home. It's just the way it works. So those are the 3 physical. And the 5 economical, let's talk about those. So scarcity talks about how land is not plentiful. You know, there's a limited supply on earth. But it really can go down even to neighborhoods. When a seller calls me and there's no other homes in the neighborhood for sale, that's a really good thing for that seller, because that means that there's no competition and they're probably going to get the price that they're wanting. Sometimes some of them really go overboard and they don't price correctly to begin with, and then they shoot themselves in the foot. Okay. Now, if there's plenty of houses on the market in their neighborhood or in that general area, well, then of course, you know what happens. Buyers become more picky because they have a lot more choices, right? And so a lot of times that's when negotiations come in, and sellers tend to end up with lower prices, and they also end up paying closing costs and doing repairs and all kinds of stuff. So it really depends on the market and the scarcity of the homes. Situs is just another word for location. Where a home is located matters. All right, so let's just take this. Even my neighborhood, I have an HOA, okay? And but we don't have really many amenities. Like, we don't have a pool. Now, there's a neighborhood right down the street from me that has a pool, and those homes typically sell for more. Why? Because of the amenities in the neighborhood. So the location, and I'll also take it on a different note. Let's just get rid of the HOA. Let's talk about, I'm going to stick to Manassas. For those of you who know Manassas, you'll know what I'm talking about. 20109, which is right by 66, all the convenience, versus 20112, which I call the sticks of Manassas. It's more in the central, it's more by Woodbridge and by Dumfries kind of area. It's kind of in between those. And it's like you got to travel to go to 66 or travel to go to 95. It's kind of right central, and there's not a lot of amenities or convenience in that area. You got to travel a little bit. The lots are much bigger. And if I were to take the same piece of property, everything is identical, same lot size, same everything, and I put it in 20109 and I put it in 20112, okay, the sticks of Manassas, and right by convenience, right by 66, the one with convenience is always going to sell for more. People like being able to jump on the highway. They love being really close to their grocery store. They love being close to everything. Whereas now, in those types of zip codes, you don't get a lot of land. Okay, so it's a choice, right? But if I took the same piece of property, I guarantee you 9 out of 10 times I'm going to sell the one that's close to convenience versus the one that's not. Okay, now there's always an exception to the rule, which is why I said 9 out of 10 times. There's always one person that's like, I don't care about grocery stores. I just want a large piece of land. Sure, me too. Okay, I get it. But we're the minority. The majority want convenience because they live busy lives and they don't have time to be driving around and they don't have time to be taking care of things and they just want to hurry up and get things done. So they will pay extra for the convenience. Improvements, of course, an economic characteristics of land is the improvement. Does it have a structure on it? What type of structure does it have on it? Okay. And if it has a structure, well, obviously it's going to increase the value, right? Any land. So basically raw land is not as valuable as land with an improvement. Now, listen closely, guys. Everybody wants to argue with me on this, but I can prove it to you all day long. Raw land. So I've had a lot of people say to me, I want to build my own custom home. Oh, I hear that all the time. I'm like, okay, here we go. It's way more expensive. I need everybody to understand this. It's way more expensive than buying a regular home and rehabbing it. Okay. Like people don't get this. They always want to build their custom home and they think it's cheaper and it's not. Okay. But here's where they argue with me. They want to buy raw land versus buying land with a house that needs to be torn down. They're like, well, you have to pay to tear down the house. I'm like, that is a very small fee compared to preparing the land to build. So when you buy raw land, first of all, you have to go through public hearings and all your neighbors get to maybe shoot down your goals of building a house. Okay, when you buy a land that's already has a house on it, maybe that needs to be torn down, right? Some little shack that's fallen to pieces. You don't need a public hearing for that because it's already zoned residential and it's already been approved for a house. It's like that's alone is my biggest thing, but we can keep going. To remove the trees is ridiculously expensive. The average cost of just a half acre could be as much as $100,000. Okay, people don't understand how much it costs. And then you gotta bring in the utility lines or drill for a well and create a septic when septics can be extremely expensive, right? So there's so many things that you have to take into consideration with raw land. So I always tell people, look, if you want to save a lot of money, just buy a piece of property with a house that could be tore down and leave one wall and call it a remodel. Okay, then you could skip all those public hearings. You've already got the well and septic, or you've already got the utility lines. You don't have to pay for that. You don't have to pay to clear the land. Then you just start building. Okay, it's so much easier and so much cheaper, but people don't know. I got 1,000 tricks up my sleeve, guys. But people always like, I want to buy raw land, and I'm like, all right, here we go. If there's one endangered flea on that land, you know that they will shut down and you will never be able to build. They will shut down your permits. You will never be able to build. That's why I tell people, before you buy raw land, you better do your due diligence, because if you don't get those economic or those environmental reports done in advance, if there's one endangered species, and I don't care if it's a flea or if it's a bird, okay, they will shut you down. Even though you bought the house or bought the land, sorry, even though they bought the land, there's nothing you could do. You can't, it's not buildable. Okay, we're done. So I tell people it's best to spend the money up front before you buy the land, because once you buy it, you're stuck with it, right? So something to think about when it comes to improvements. If there's a structure built upon it, it is more valuable than raw land, period, final end of it. Okay. And I can prove that all day long. All right. Now production is a different concept. It talks about like infrastructural upgrades to a home. So I always use the basics here. Indoor plumbing versus outdoor plumbing. Which one is more valuable? Obviously, more people will desire indoor plumbing. So any type of infrastructural upgrades. I mean, today we can even use little things such as the smart house features. Having those, like in my house, I have everything automated. Okay, like as much as I can right now. I'm trying to get my blinds automated, but I haven't been able to get there yet. Okay, like for example, when I walk in the house, the lights cut on in certain areas, like they're all timed, or I could say, Alexa, cut them on. But they're all on timers. Like even my bedroom at 8 o'clock, my bedroom lights cut on. Okay. The music plays every morning when I wake up. My alarm is set to my morning playlist, which is awesome. Like I have so many smart features in my house that are built, the Nest, I've got the thermostat, little stuff like that really makes a big deal. When a person walks into a home and they see these convenience, once again, people pay for convenience, right? They see these infrastructural upgrades to a home, they really love it. And they're willing to pay more for homes that have them than homes that don't, which is why I tell Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, just leave it. Leave everything that you love in that house, because trust me, if you love it, they'll probably love it. And if that's the case, your value goes up in their eyes, not to an appraiser, but in the buyer's eyes. Okay. All right. So that's really production and assemblage. So this is another one. Assemblage is merging land together. So for example, this is what developers do. They'll buy, in fact, I got one under contract right now, guys, $7 million. Okay, and let me tell you what this developer did. He bought 3 houses, cut them all down, like ripped them all down, merged the land together, and he built a 12-unit building. Okay, 12 units, 12, there's 2 bedrooms and there's 3 1-bedrooms, and there's 1, 2, 3, and then the rest 9 is 2 bedrooms. Okay, and that's what he built. That's assemblage. He bought 3 pieces of property and merged them together. That's the assemblage. Now, be careful, because the word plottage will come up. Plottage refers to the money aspect. Please don't get these, because this is on your test. These are on your test, and I don't want you to get them mixed up, because they try to trick you. All right. Plottage has to do with the money. Assemblage has to do with merging those properties together. Does that make sense? All right. Now we get into the nature of personal property. Well, you guys know what personal property, it's anything that's not real property. We've got our chairs, our dining room tables, our TVs, our couches, our clothes, our beds, all right, you name it. Anything in your house that is movable, not made for the house, right? It's just your furniture, really. All gets to come with you. Okay, easily movable is like the easy way to determine if something is personal property or not. You'll hear the word chattel or personality. You're not going to see these on your test, so please don't worry too much about them. But there are a lot in the book and on the test questions in the book. And they go into even in depth about the different types of chattel. Don't worry about all that. You guys can skip that stuff. I promise it's not on your test, okay? And personal properties are conveyed with a bill of sale, where we know real property is conveyed by a deed, okay? So that's a big difference there. Now, there are some items that are tricky, okay? They look like fixtures, but they're actually not. So they may be attached. So like you see this little barber sign guy here, this little spinny thing, it's attached to that brick. So one could argue it's a fixture, right? No, it stays. It's attached to the land. It must stay, right? Well, trade fixtures are items that are necessary for one's business. And this is a perfect example, and we can keep going on and on about all the different examples. Even in residential property, guys, you will see a lot of home daycares. You will see a lot of home salons. You will see a lot of home mechanics. Those are the 3 that I see most often, but there are other types that I see as well. People just, little businesses running from their home. Are they supposed to do that? Of course not. Maybe they have their permits. Who am I to judge? I don't get involved. Okay, that's not my point. My job is just to show the house, all right, and help my buyer determine if it's the right fit for them. And again, I don't make decisions for my client. I just ask the questions and let them decide whether it's right for them. Okay, so items used as part of a trade or business. it could be removed by, especially by a tenant or a seller, even though it's attached. Okay. Now, obviously the seller or the tenant must repair the damage caused by the removal. All right. So let's talk about this. Let's just say that you have a buyer client that has a lot of children, right? And you're showing homes and you go to one particular home and it has like lots of playground equipment, which is pretty cool, right? I mean, they think, oh my gosh, I have all these young kids. This would be great. All right, one of my friends, she has 5 boys. Oh my God, I can't even imagine my house with 5 boys. That's a lot of boys, and young boys are full of energy. They are running around. So having playground equipment in the backyard is pretty awesome. So this buyer gets excited. They're like, oh my gosh, this is great. They don't have one playground. They have 2 playgrounds and they're really nice and awesome. And oh my gosh, look at the little tree house. And oh my gosh, this stuff is so cool. I really love this house because they envision their life with their kids having a place to play, right? Now, anytime I see a situation where there's a lot of playground equipment, it's a red flag for me to start asking questions. If there's any sign that there's a home daycare going on, I need to ask questions. Now imagine if I didn't ask questions and my client loves the house because they see all the playground equipment. Turns out the person is a daycare provider and then takes all their equipment with them. Can you imagine closing day, how that's going to go? That is not going to go over well. They have the right to take it because it's necessary for their business. It's called trade fixtures. Now, did I add it to the contract? Did I have this conversation? Well, then I'm the one that's in trouble, right? Because I didn't do my part. Maybe it could be arguable that the listing agent should have disclosed. Possibly. I don't know. Both of us really, in my opinion, are in trouble because we obviously failed to communicate, and that is not good. Okay. The seller has the right to take them. Okay. But the buyer's not going to know that unless we tell them. So when I see, like, for example, I'll give you another example. I had a client that did hair. So she was always talking about she needed a space for her salon. And I literally was walking through a house with another client, believe it or not. And I spotted it, and it was in her price range. Not exactly the area that she wanted, but it was a full salon in the person's basement. And she's the first person I thought of. I was like, oh my God, this is awesome, right? So of course I know that those are trade fixtures. So first thing I do is I call the agent and say, hey, is the owner planning to take the salon? Because I need to know, because they can. And guys, they even had the sinks, the ones that are attached to the wall that you lay back in. It's got the little neck thing, and you know, right? It had even that. So if somebody is going to take those, we need to know, because they're going to literally leave pipes sticking out of the wall, right? How will that, what are we going to do with that? How's that going to work? All that needs to be discussed and planned out in the contract. So first thing I did was call her, and she was just very excited. And I told her, you have to come. I want to show it to you. It's not exactly in your area, but you got to see this. And she's like, okay. And I said, it's in your price range. And she said, okay. And so stuff like this is really helpful, but we need to ask the questions up front. Again, the playground equipment could be a home daycare. You need to ask. You need to put it in the contract that the playground equipment will convey if that's what they're wanting. Okay. Mechanics lift. Oh my gosh, those are hydraulic lifts that lift big cars up. I've seen those in garages. And I got to tell you, now obviously these garages are very tall, right? Because you can't lift a car in a normal garage. But they're like cemented to the ground. Well, that's necessary for one's trade, and they can take it with them if they want. So we need to find out up front. So imagine you're showing with buyers that have a strong interest in repairing cars, or that's just something that they do all the time, or it's a hobby of theirs. And they're like so excited to see this because it's just, it fits their lifestyle. And then it turns out that hydraulic lift is necessary for one's business. Well, then the buyer would be upset to find this out later. So you need to have these discussions. So anytime you see anything that could be part of a business, whether it be sellers or buyers, you need to have these discussions and then write it in the contract so everybody's crystal clear. And then I want you to think about the damage behind it, right? You have to be specific. The seller will repair all damages, right? And leave the wall, and it could be have pipes, right? You're going to have to say, cap off the pipes, put drywall over top of it, or whatever the buyer wants them to do. All right, but this is very, very important, guys, because trade fixtures could get you in trouble. And they are technically on the personal property side. They are not real property, they're personal property, which means we are expecting the seller to take it with them. Annual crops. So remember we talked about Fructus naturalis. Now we're talking about Fructus industrialis, or you'll hear them called emblements, okay? Most of the time it's Fructus industrialis, all right? So here's what you're gonna think about with that. Again, the backyard garden, by the way, guys, is making a comeback. I'm actually proud of mine a little bit this year. And last year, I did pretty daggone good, especially last year because everybody was at home, right? We had nothing better to do, so we're all paying attention to our garden. But when you're really busy, you have to hope it rains and takes care of the garden for you, right? So Fructus industrialis, believe it or not, the backyard garden is making a comeback. And I have to tell you, I've been with a lot of buyers that they'll see a nice garden in the backyard and they're like, oh my God. And they're like, I love the garden. I'm like, okay, hold up though. That's personal property. So we'll have to ask the seller whether they're taking it or not. Yes, they can dig up their corn. In fact, guys, let's just take this a step further. Do you know the law actually states that they have 1 year to harvest? Yeah, they can leave it there and come back and collect it all. Now, if they're not taking care of it and neither is the homeowner, well, it could die and that's on them. But
So they have 1 year to come back and
harvest.
wow.
Isn't that crazy? So we need to have this discussion. Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, are you leaving the backyard garden, right? Or the front yard garden or whatever? Are you leaving the garden? And if the answer is yes, do you ever plan on coming back and collecting the harvest? Guys, when I moved in this house in 2014, no joke. Okay, I didn't move in 2014. I bought it in 2014, but I moved in probably 2005 because they ended up staying for a while because they were waiting for their house to be built and it kept getting delayed and I just let them stay. So when I bought this house, seriously, it was crazy. I moved in. Now, I did not buy the home because of this. It had apple trees, plum trees, peach trees, and grapevines. I did not buy it for that. The grapevine is the only one still there. Unfortunately, I have to tell you guys, I feel sad, but I ended up taking the other ones down. They were just too messy and they were driving me crazy. And I probably want to put them back. Now I probably want to plant another one. But okay, anyway, the grapevine is still there and the grapes are absolutely amazing every single year. They're beautiful, beautiful, delicious grapes. But I didn't buy it for that. Do you guys know months after the seller moved out and I moved in, she shows up at the house one day and her arms were lined with baskets. And I was like, oh, hey, how are you? And I'm like, oh, you want to go pick all the fruit? You want to go pick everything? Knock yourself out. There's like way too much. I can never eat this. At that point, I had 3 little tiny ones, right? They were all very little. And I was like, we can't eat all this. Feel free, knock yourself out. And so she did. She picked it all and left. I mean, probably not at all, but I don't remember. But she filled her baskets and left. And that was awesome. And then, I didn't see her again. But she has the right within the law to come back and get them. So imagine if you do not have this discussion with your clients. Imagine you're representing the buyer and you do not tell them this. And then the seller shows back up. What could happen? Do you think your clients are going to be upset with you? Of course they are, right? Of course they are. So you need to have these discussions. Mr. Seller, Mrs. Seller, do you plan on coming back? Mr. Buyer, Mrs. Buyer, are you okay with them coming back? Under the law, they do have 1 year. Is that going to be a problem for you? I find that when I set the expectations and talk about things up front, people are cool with it. It's only the things that don't get discussed that everybody has a huge like it's a huge problem. And even some of it's not a big problem, but they make it a big problem because it wasn't discussed. So as long as you're setting the stage and setting those expectations, and by the way, guys, my favorite quote, conflict arises when expectations differ. But when everybody's expecting the same thing, everybody's happy. But when people are expecting two different things, conflict arises. I love that quote because it reminds me so much to always set the expectations and make sure we're on the same page at all times. I do my best to make sure that I'm overly communicating with my clients so that we're on the same page and asking them a lot of questions and then explaining the law and how it works, but then telling them that whatever they're wanting, I'm going to do my best to make it happen. Now, if I don't have these conversations, then it doesn't happen. Okay. So it's very, very important that we have this discussion. All right. So annual crops, you need to understand that. Severance, it just means removal of things. You know, if you sever something, you removed it. So it's just a definition there. I've honestly never seen it on the test, so we don't have to worry too much. All right, chapters 2 and 3, let's go. Merging two or more properties into a common ownership is known as blank, while any increase in value, the money aspect, is known as what?
D.
Yeah, assemblage, plottage.
D.
So it's, yep, so all right, awesome. So it's either plottage, assemblage, plottage. So we can eliminate A and we can eliminate D. That's awesome. We know it's not situs and production. We know it's not progression or regression. You guys haven't even learned that yet. That's part of your appraisal process. You guys will learn that. So we know it's plottage. All right, but let's read it. The merging of the property is what, while the money is what?
Money is the plotted.
That's right. Money is the plottage. So we know the answer is C because assemblage is the merging of them together while the money aspect is plottage. So C is definitely the answer. All right. Good job, guys. All right. Trade fixtures can be affixed to real property without becoming a legal part of the property. Or when affixed to real property becomes an improvement, automatically conveys with real property when sold, or cannot be removed. What do you guys think? Can it be affixed to real property? It can. Yep, A is it. Can be affixed to real property without becoming a legal part of the property. Remember, it's a fixture, but it's not going to convey. So when it says automatically conveys, no way, it does not convey. It's not staying with the property. It's going. Cannot be removed, no. And if you read these, three of them are the same. Cannot be removed, automatically conveys, right? I mean, you know, those are the same thing. When fixed or real property becomes an improvement, all these are the same, but this is the only one that's different. So that makes it a little easier if you pay attention to those things. So can be affixed without becoming a part of the property? Absolutely. It's a trade fixture. All right. Nothing on your test about the real estate business, believe it or not. You would think there would be lots of questions on this, but there is some questions when it comes to agency, and we're going to get there and we'll talk about what that is. But overall, how does a real estate business work? A principal broker, there's associate brokers, and there's salespeople. All right, so let's talk about them first. All right, when you first get your license, you will be a salesperson, and you will work for a period of time. And if you choose to get your broker's license, I always tell people it's a great idea to get their broker's license, even if they want to stay an associate broker. What is an associate broker? It's a person with their sales, they're a broker license, but they just still want to stay in sales. They enjoy the sales aspect. They enjoy working with buyers and sellers. And they know, honestly, guys, this is where you make your most money really is in the sales aspect. The principal broker is the one person that is required to enforce the laws. It's the person with their neck on the guillotine. It's the person that gets into trouble. If any of their salespeople and associate brokers get themselves into trouble, the principal broker is going to be held liable. It's just the way it works. The principal broker is the one who gets sued. The principal broker is the one who pays all the overhead. Principal broker is the one who manages the office. So I tell people, look, here's the reality. What is your personality? The only reason I became a principal broker, guys, is because I love to teach. I love to coach. I'm a coach. I'm a national coach through Club Wealth. Speaking of which, Club Wealth, there's my cup. right? You guys can look up Club Wealth. And if I were you, I would join the mastermind group on Facebook. Facebook, it's the Club Wealth mastermind, something like that. I don't remember. But just search in Facebook Club Wealth and you're going to find it. And you can join that group for free and you can start listening and watching all of the stuff that goes on in there. And so I'm a coach. That's just my personality. I'm a teacher. I'm an educator. I love educating even buyers and sellers, but it's not my primary job. At a certain period in time, I was like, I really want to help agents be better salespeople. It just was my personality, which is the only reason I became this. And I tell everybody, if you're going to become a broker, remember your job is now to teach people, your salespeople. And if that's not your passion, and to be honest with you guys, you're stuck in the office a lot, which means you make less sales. So don't get your broker's license because you want to make more money. Don't do that. You're already a business owner as a salesperson. You only get your principal broker license or become a principal broker if your passion is helping salespeople grow businesses. And if that's the case, you definitely should become a broker because we need good brokers. Trust me, there's too many bad ones. We need good ones, right? But a lot of people get their broker's license. Just like me, I had got my broker's license and I stayed an associate broker for 2 whole years. And then I was jumping around kind of from company to company and I wasn't finding what I was looking for. I wanted brokers to feel like business partner. I wanted my broker to be my business partner. I wanted my broker to help me. I wanted my broker to teach me and mentor me. And I just wasn't finding that. And so I decided to create what I was looking for. Okay. I wanted to be the broker that I wish that I had. Okay. And so that's why I started my company. Other than that, guys, I would have just stuck with sales because I can already tell you that's where you make all your money and no overhead, no liability. Oh my God, it's awesome. You don't have to worry about lawsuits. You don't have to worry about nothing because the principal broker absorbs all of that. So now back in the day when I became a broker, they didn't have teams. Today they have teams. You can make more money as a team leader than anybody else because you don't have all that overhead, right? You don't have staff you have to pay. You don't have taxes and business taxes and state taxes and all of these other crazy taxes that they tax the heck out of business owners. So don't become a broker because you want to make more money. That's not how you make more money. Become a team leader if you want to make more money. But if your passion is to help salespeople grow their business and help real estate agents, then you absolutely should become a broker. Please, we need more of them. Okay, but it's really a personality. And I coach a lot of people. I focus on brokers. Those are the ones that I coach in Club Wealth. Club Wealth has
I'm having trouble hearing you.
Oh my goodness, what am I doing wrong? Why does Watch keep talking to me? So in Club Wealth, they have different niches. And my group, the small group of coaches that that we work kind of together, our coaching clients are all brokers. I do have a few that are team leaders, but I focus on brokers because I find that a majority of people get their broker's license for the wrong reason and their expectations were not set properly and they don't know how to run a business. And so I focus on them because I know that they need help more than anybody because I was in their shoes. I know, and I saw all the things I did wrong and all the things I didn't know. And so I love to coach them and help them. And it's amazing how many of them end up going back to just being an associate broker and having a team because they're like, I don't want to deal with all this. I'm like, I agree. It's only if it's your personality. Okay. So want to share that, nothing on your test about that. And then there's clients and there's customers, guys. Customers is everybody in the whole wide world. Everybody you meet is your customer. But those who sign an agreement to work with you exclusively, or maybe not exclusively if you allow that, become your clients. There's different fiduciary duties, and we're going to go through that. And then, of course, there's the state regulators. They are our real estate board, and we're going to talk about them on the 5th day of us being together, and who they are and what they do, because they want you to know them. But basically, their job is to punish us if we've done something wrong. Their job is to protect the public. They're not our friends, but majority of them are still in real estate. They're real estate professionals. The requirement is they've been licensed for at least 5 consecutive years. So they have some insight on the real estate market. They've seen things, hopefully, right? And their job is to protect these people from us. So they're coming after us if we do anything wrong. And trust me, They're always testing us. Okay, so we have to be really careful and make sure that we're doing the right thing at all times and that we remember the laws and regulations so we don't get ourselves into trouble. Okay, so that's who that is. Nothing on your test about that specifically. We're going to get more in detail and I'll tell you where your test questions are. And then in general, the real estate market, when supply is down and or demand is up, which is what we have right now, prices rise. It's a seller's market, and it is still a seller's market, but it has come back down. I mean, 2 months ago, 3 months ago, guys, we were getting offers $75,000 above the asking price, $100,000. They were waiving their appraisals, coming out of pocket with cash. Nobody was getting. I don't think anybody's got poor home inspectors. They have not had any jobs practically this whole year. Okay, it is rare for any seller to allow a home inspection. Okay, I'm seeing a little bit more now, which is good, but I can tell you, poor home inspectors, they were out of business there for a couple months. Seriously, nobody was getting home inspections because they couldn't allow it, which is really bad for buyers. I mean, that's really terrible. But that's just the way it was. Okay, supply and demand are stable. That's when your prices are stable. You're in a normal market. There is, in a typical market, there is some wiggle room with the price. Not a lot, but there's wiggle room. And typically sellers will pay buyers closing costs, which makes life so much easier and more people are able to get into houses, which is really nice. But when supply is up and demand is low, prices start to drop. And that is not fun for the sellers, but of course it's great for the buyers. Okay, I have been through these markets many times. I've watched it go up and down and up and down and up. I've watched it. I know exactly where we're going next because I've already lived this life. It's like deja vu, been here, done this before. Okay, and so your job is to watch the market and to pay attention to these things, which is why I tell people that real estate is not a hobby. You should never be ever representing somebody unless you are fully knowledgeable, because you could hurt them. So a person who never shows up to any training and sells a house every couple years, you have to think there's no way they've been keeping up with the industry. I am on the forms committee, which means all the forms that you will be using, I helped create. Okay, I just want you guys to know that. And constant changes. So a person who's not staying up to date with the forms has no idea what changes have been made. How are they supposed to represent a client if they don't even know what their contract says? How are they supposed? And every July 1st. What was it? Why am I suddenly forgetting? Is it June or July the laws change? Oh my God, I can't believe. I think it's June 1st.
July 1st.
July 1st. Okay. For some reason, it just literally slipped my mind. I said July, but then it just didn't seem right. Every July 1st, guys, the laws change. And in January, you should know what laws are about to change.
Assembly gets together, blah, 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 blah. Yeah.
And you got to be paying attention to that. And there's so many of them. But you got to be on top of that stuff. I don't know how a part-time person would ever be able to juggle all that. So you got to make sure that if you're part-time for now, that you are staying on top of this. Because the liability, people could sue you. This is their lives. And we have to stay on top of this stuff. I have to know what kind of market it is. I have to know where the market is going, whether it's going down, whether it's going up. I need to prepare my clients. I need to know what the interest rates, where they are, what the prediction is, or where they're going. I need to know what the laws are and what laws have changed. It's a lot. So
I have a question.
Sure.
I'm so sorry. I know that you were talking about this way in the beginning, but the exams, when will we be taking those?
On the last day. I mean, honestly, guys, as soon as you get registered, you literally at any time could take your exams. The mostly Flint ones. I mean, literally, you could take them this week if you want. And if you get your the proctor set up and get yourself registered, I encourage it. Why the heck not? It's free. You could take it 1,000,000 times. It doesn't really matter. Why not see what's on there? I would. So I would be taking it as quick as you can just to see what's on there. And then you know where to kind of focus your energy. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
A lot
Does
of
it tell you if you got something wrong? No.
so you have to figure it out. That's the hard part.
All right.
All right. Again, nothing on your test about types of real estate, guys. Residential, commercial investment, industrial, special purpose, recreational, agriculture. There's 1,000 different. These are the main branches, and there's even more, but these are the typical ones you'll see. But even under residential, there's 1,000 different types of residential. There's 1,000 different types of zoning regulations, right? So we're not expected to know every single thing, but we should have zoning on our speed dial so that we can ask questions. Now, we also should be asking our clients questions. Let's just say you're working with a buyer and you walk into a house and you're like, oh, hey, Mr. Buyer, Mr. Buyer, Mrs. Buyer, how do you see yourself living in this house? And they say, oh, we really love the backyard because it'll be perfect for our goats. I'm sorry. You have goats. Okay, this is important information because now I need to check the zoning to see if they allow goats here. So we're going to be careful here. Now we're going to stay out of HOAs because HOA is not going to let you have goats. So this changes everything. So I like to ask my buyers plenty of questions because they, in the industry, they say buyers are liars and sellers are too. I don't believe that. I truly believe, now there are buyers that are liars, but that's very minor. Like that's not very often. Most people are not just blatantly lying to us. We just didn't ask the question. Okay. We didn't ask the question. We didn't talk to them. We didn't communicate. So I always ask them, how do you envision yourself living here? What will you do in this room? What will you do in that room? I don't go like, hey, here's the formal living room, because you guys know what's in my formal living room right now? A ping pong table. Okay, because I got kids in this house. I have a ping pong table. I have a formal living room. You don't have to use the rooms as what they're called, right? People can live however the heck they want to live. And so a lot of times people will tell me, I'm looking for this. And I'll say, oh, well, this room over here would work for that. What do you think? Right? Or what room in this house would work for that? Right? My own daughter, when she was shopping for her house, Mom, I really want to have an art room. So the house that she bought, and we walked in, I'm like, which room would be your art room? Right? That could be anywhere. It could be the formal living room. I don't care. Right? So there it is, guys. Don't pigeonhole like rooms. Like just because they're called this doesn't mean they can use it however they want. But if they tell you that they have pigs or chickens or goats or anything out of the normal, or they're planning a business or something of that nature, you're going to need to contact zoning, and you're going to need to give them zoning's information and say, Mr. Buyer, Mrs. Buyer. All right. So this is that, goats, they're not allowed on every single property. So we have to find the right property that zoning that will allow for goats. So here's what we can do. Let's look at the rest of the houses today, because I want you to, take a look at them. If there's any of them that you like, then I can call zoning. And then for our next showing, I don't know if you have time tomorrow or, when you want to see again, but whenever you guys are available, you can send me the list. I'll show you the houses. You tell me which ones you like, and then I'll call zoning in advance. And then we'll know that you can actually bring your goats here, right? If not, is it a deal killer? Like, do somebody else could take your goats, or you keeping your goats? These are things I need to know. We need to have this discussion up front. So this is why you got to ask these questions, guys, because it's not just these types of real estate. It's 1,000 regulations in between. All right, now let's get into land descriptions, chapter 6. Okay, believe it or not, 123 Main Street, or whatever the house address. Ours is 8551 Rixloo Lane, Suite 140. That's our office, right? That is not our legal property description. It is our non-legal property description. I'm sorry. Yes, it's our non-legal property. I said it right. Non-legal property description. Okay? Your address is your non-legal property address. What the heck does that mean? Every home, every structure has 2 addresses. They have a legal and they have a non-legal. The non-legal is the pizza man. The pizza man gets the non-legal address, right? Your friends and family get the non-legal address so they can come over to the birthday party, right? But the courthouse, or any documents that are going to the courthouse, Those get the legal property description, okay? You can't turn in a document to the courthouse that has a non-legal property address. They're not going to take it. They want to see the legal property description on it. So all deeds must contain a legal property description. Now, I will tell you guys, the type of property description method depends on where the land is located, okay? And this, has anybody ever flown West Coast and got the window seat?
Mm-hmm.
You can notice, and you'll notice forevermore, guys, when you sit in the window seat, you will see this that you probably didn't notice. And by the way, I was just in Arizona because I had a speaking event, and I have to tell you, I took pictures. I always take pictures, but I think the best pictures I've ever taken. I need to put these on my computer so I can share them on these slides. But I took I took all three methods. Because you're flying all the way across the United States, you're going to see all three, which is phenomenal. And from the plane, you can clearly see the differences. All right, here they are in front of me. I'm probably going to have to figure out. I'm going to get them on my computer, so I'll show you guys. But the first one, it's called meets and bounds method. This is rural areas, like really country. Okay, believe it or not, on the deed, they describe the property by mentioning a lake, a boulder, a tree. Literally, so it has meets and bounds. Bounds are these markings and meets are measurements. So it'll say, so it's not quite like this right here. There's actually measurements along the way. So it'll say from walnut tree, the walnut tree that neighbors or is on Mosley Farm, you'll travel 150 yards over to Smith Lake. And then it'll have a compass angle. So they're like, then you turn 92 degrees, right? 95 degrees, and you're going to go all the way over to the boulder. I mean, like literally, I'm not joking. This is what it says on their deed. It's kind of crazy because they'll cut the walnut tree down and still keep that in the deed. It's kind of crazy. But
originally done by a land surveyor.
Yes.
Is that where that comes from?
Mm-hmm.
A land surveyor would actually be the one that had done that.
Yes, okay. It wouldn't be like you or me. That would be terrible. We would probably mess it up, right? And a land surveyor does all three methods. So there's three methods, and we're gonna describe all. I'm gonna tell you about all three of them. Okay, and so this is meets and bounds. There are questions on meets and bounds. I remember one talks about an oak tree. All right, anytime you hear a legal property description with the word oak tree or boulder or lake or any physical that you can see, then you know already we're talking meets and bounds. Okay? Meets and bounds land descriptions are always just using some kind of permanent marking or you can see it. Okay, so don't forget this one because there is a test question, and this is what you're going to see. But like I mentioned before, they're going to have measurements. Okay, so they'll have compass angles. They'll have, or like the angle. You turn right. Right. 96 degrees or whatever. 102 degrees. Right, and then they can easily map it out. So even if the boulder is gone, they still have those measurements in place. But they always mention the boulders and the trees, and that's how you can really describe right away. You can see right away what type of method. Again, these are used in country settings. Okay, so like you'll see these in again, very country settings, like 10, 15, 20, 100 acres, lots. Those are the types of things you're going to see. Okay, all right, the next one. Now, I'm mad at Susan because in the book, Susan used Florida as an example. Why, Susan? All right, there's two questions that I'm aware of about government survey. Government survey was created at the gold rush days, okay? So it's really the newest type of way of describing land. And it uses checkerboard patterns. So let me explain why. You see, in our area or in rural areas, you'll notice that the lots are not square. Okay, why? Because our roads follow lakes and streams and rivers, and they follow water. Water is not man-made, so it's kind of crazy, right? It follows the topography. It goes where the heck it wants, okay? It has a mind of its own, right? But government survey, the West Coast, they created their land based upon railroads. Railroads are man-made, and they're perfectly straight, right? Well, they could be. I mean, they should be, right? And so you're going to see, and I'm going to show you, because I got all three of them. I just have to put them on my computer, and I'll do that somehow, some way. I don't know. Maybe I can email them to myself real quick. I just want to show you guys. You're going to be blown away by the difference. You can see the difference. As you're sitting, as you're in the plane, you can see, and you know, oh, that's government survey right there. I'm gonna pull this up. You watch this. I'm gonna show this to you because I've been meaning to put it on here. So I'm gonna hit the attachments, and I'm gonna choose library. And then I just gotta find it real quick. It's not too far back because I just went to Arizona not too long ago. And you can see it's just phenomenal, guys. I'll take one of each for right this minute. Shoot. Problem is I can't see on my phone very good. I need glasses. My eyes are terrible.
Is there a lot of math on the test?
No, there's not. It's math. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said maps, but even math, no. There is just a little bit of. There's like 5 or 6. Well, somebody told me they had 8 recently. 8 questions, but they're not that bad. I'm not a math person, and I have to tell you guys that here it is. This is what I was looking for. I couldn't find it there, but I found it here. Oh my God, wait till you see this. You are never going to believe this. Hopefully it all comes through because I just added a bunch. I'll just reduce the image and I can always blow it up. Okay, I'm going to send it to myself and I'll hear it when it comes in. Okay, so the math, there's like, I'm not a math person. Please don't worry too much about the math. Okay, make sure that you're studying everything else. And now in the math, you should just know the formulas. And we're going to get to that section. There's a lot of math going on. This has got to be me. All right, so hold on one second. I'm going to pull it up because I can't wait to show you guys. Here it is. All right, so let's just see. Let's see if I can download these somehow. So let's see. It says no subject. Where the heck is attachments? You see attachments? What the heck happened to the attachments? I just attached them all. All right, well, oh, there it is. Okay, so I love it. This is so exciting. What's this? Is this going to make it big? No, I don't know what this is. All right, so I'm going to scroll down. I'm going to show you guys because I can't wait to show you guys this. So you can tell these are larger lots. You could tell they're not regular. All right, and let's scroll down and let's compare them to the other ones. Where's the rest of it? Are you kidding me? I don't get it. Where the rest of them go? Okay, well, this is meets and bounds. We'll do that one right now. This is clearly meets and bounds because they are larger lots. This was taken, I mean, I don't know where I was, you know, probably Kentucky or some, like, you know, maybe West Virginia or something like that, where they are very rural. Now, don't get me wrong, there is meets and bounds in Virginia, but it's just, again, like I said, in the more rural area parts of Virginia. Okay, Virginia is mostly lot, block, and subdivision. So I'm going to show you that, guys, that as well. So there's this picture, but nothing else. This is the only one that attached, even though I selected so many of them. All right, well, that's fine. We're going to go, and I'm going to show you the other ones as soon as I get to them. Okay, I'll send the other ones. All right, so government survey now. Just there's some things that you really need to know about government survey. Okay, government survey is West Coast. I want you to think of that. Now, this is the crazy thing I saw on the test. Are you ready for this? It says, which of the following land description methods was not found in the original 13 colonies?
That's on the test?
Yes.
Okay, what now?
Exactly. So I want you to think of the original 13 colonies. Where were they located?
On the east.
On the East Coast. And remember, government survey was developed after the original 13 colonies, and they were developed to handle westward expansion. People, the gold rush days, everybody running to the West Coast. That's the reason it was developed. That's the reason why I'm mad at Susan for using Florida. How the heck would you guys know this? If she uses Florida, that's not going to help you. So I'm still mad at Susan about that. But I want you to think of the West Coast. California, Nevada, Arizona, they're all government survey. When you fly in that plane, you will see those perfect checkerboards, and I'm going to show them to you. From the plane, you can see the perfect checkerboards. It's crazy. It's awesome. Okay? And everybody's freaking land is square, right? There's no irregularly shaped parcels. I mean, they're all the same, okay? Which is awesome. I mean, it's great for them. I mean, ours is fine too, but it's just different. And so people that come here from the West Coast typically say, oh, wow, the land, the lot is unusual. And I'm like, oh, they all are, okay? You're on the East Coast. This is what we do. We follow lot, block, and subdivision in the city, in the suburbs, and then in the country, we use meets and bounds, and none of those are regularly checkerboard patterns. So what I need you guys to really know about this section is this whole big thing is called a check, all right? And I compare a check to a county, okay? So it's a total of, all of a sudden I'm forgetting, guys, 36 square miles, okay? 36 square miles. All right, 36 square miles, 36, okay? Now, within there is your townships, which I just compared to a town. Towns are inside of counties, right? Like, well, you get what I'm saying. You're never going to see a town bigger than a county, okay? And then there's sections. These sections, I compare them to neighborhoods. So you need to know check, you need to know townships. So there's 4 townships here. And then each of these are sections, okay? So let's take a look at the sizes once again. Your townships are 6 miles by 6 miles. Okay, so then, wait, all right, here. So your little townships are 6 miles by 6 miles. And so so let's do this again. 6 by 6, 6 by 6. All of a sudden I can't remember, guys. It's
36.
Yes, that's 36 and 36. And so it's but it was supposed to be 36 miles square. And then there's 36 square miles, 2 total different things. 36 miles square versus 36 square miles, 2 total different things. One is 36 by 36, and the other one is 36. There's 6 by 6 is 36. Does that make sense? So that's the difference, which is confusing. That's why I always want to go through it. But your townships are 6 by 6. Again, that's the 36 square miles, but the other one is 36 miles square, okay? And then the sections, you got to remember this, is 640 acres. I'm going to tell you guys right here now, this one right here is on the test, the 43,560 square feet per acre. You have to know that. 1 acre equals 43,560 square feet. You have to remember that. And you have to remember one section is 640 acres. You have to know that. I've never seen the mile is 5,280 feet. Never seen that one, but maybe memorize it anyway. But I'm already going to tell you, this one is on your test and this one is on your test, this one up here. These you have to know. And I'm going to tell you why coming up, because you're going to see some questions and you're going to understand why. Okay, so I just remember, I don't want you to remember too in depth with this. Just need to know check, township, and section. You need to understand what they are, because they're going to try to convince you that a section is bigger than a check. Well, how would a subdivision be bigger than a county? That's how I remember it, and I can keep them straight in my head, okay? I mean, the 6x6 and stuff like that, you don't need to know that. And even this right here, guys, you do not need to know all of this. You do not need, you're not going to, now there are questions that we'll talk about, like the Southeast 1/4 of section 32, right? A township 2 north. Like, again, you don't need to know all of that, but there's a math question that just, and we're going to go through it. I'm going to show you. It's very similar to the test, so that's the only one I need you to know. But other than that, you're not going to need to know all this. So please don't get too confused on this. We don't live on the West Coast, and we don't live in a government survey area, so it's not really necessary that you know all of this. And it's not even on the test, okay? So just don't worry about it, but know that this is the way they operate, okay? Lot, block, and subdivision is not on your test at all, but this is in real life. This is what you're going to see here. And I got some beautiful pictures of those exact ones, lot, block, and subdivision. If you ever go to a brand new community, you're driving in, you will see these are all dirt piles, right? But there'll be like a little white sign in the front. They put this little sign and it's like lot 1, lot 2, lot 3, lot 4 on block B. Right? And then this one will say
builders did that. Builders.
Yeah. Anytime you go into a new development, you're going to see this. And it will say the block. And if you guys look up your own,
Address. Legal address.
Yep, your public record, right? You pull your public record, you're going to see, for example, it would say block A, lot 3. And then it'll say the neighborhood. It'll say, Arrowwood or, Wellington Commons, whatever. It's going to say, so lot, block, and subdivision. So that's our legal property, the way that we describe property legally. And when it goes to the courthouse, it has to have the legal property description on it. Okay. So this is the one you need to know in real life, but you're not going to need to know it on the test. There's nothing on your test about it. This one, again, nothing about this kind of stuff on your test, but there is questions about the section versus the township. It doesn't go too deep with that. There's math questions on the 43,560. Okay. And there's math questions on the 640 acres. And if you don't remember these numbers, you will not get the math questions right. Okay. So that's why I tell you have to remember that. And again, the section, the township, one more. The baseline goes from east to west or west to east. It goes, east to west. And then the principal meridian goes from north to south. So those are the dividing lines between the townships. Okay. And of course, like I told you, there's a question on this, which is on the meets and bounds, which I remember the one with the old oak tree. Okay, so that was a big one, and I want you guys to know that one because that one's really, really important. All right, and hold on one second. I want to show you guys. I really want to show you the government survey because you're just gonna love the government survey one. It's so freaking beautiful. This is when I was coming in to Arizona. I was like, oh my God, I gotta get this picture. This is so. I was just taking pictures like crazy because then I use them to try to. If my kids are in the plane with me, then they're forced to listen, which is awesome for me. But other than that, I bring them home. Hey, look, what do you think this is? And they're like, government survey. We know, Mom. I'm like, well, good. At least you're learning. Not that they need to know that for anything. Okay, I really want to share this one with you. Here it is right here. Try to pick out the best one because there's so many good ones. Oh my God, I love them. All right, so I added 2. Let's just see. I'm going to say reduce image size so it won't be. I can't wait for you guys to see this. All right, here it comes. Let's just wait. Then I'm going to move on. I just want to show you this. It's so freaking cool. Okay, it says it's sent. There it is. And I want to do one more. I want to do the lot, block, and subdivision because I got some good pictures of that too. From the plane, it's so freaking awesome. You can see it's so easy. So next time you fly a plane, trust me, you're going to be looking now and you're going to be like, oh, wow. All right, so here's lot block and subdivision. Oops, I think I put keep original side. Just fine. Okay, that's okay. All right, so here it goes. So we'll pull up this next one. I'm going to get out of this one. So you know that this is meets and bounds. You can tell. Now to compare it to this next one, I can't wait to show you guys. Look at this.
Oh my gosh.
what do you see right there? I mean, is that not awesome or what? Do you see these perfect checkerboard? Do you see what I'm talking about?
That's government survey.
This is government survey. Can you see the difference?
Yeah, definitely.
Oh my God. And wait till you see lot block and subdivision. So that one, I've already hit the send button. I'm just waiting for it to go through. Let me see. It hasn't gone through yet. Trying to get it to go through. But yes, when I was flying in, so this is Arizona. And when I was flying in, gosh, it is so desert, isn't it? So everything's so brown over on the West Coast, but it's beautiful in its own way. I think there are two different types of beautiful. I just love the earth. I mean, I'm like, wow, it's so gorgeous. But you can see these perfect freaking checkerboard patterns. It's so obvious when you're in the plane. Not when you're down below, you're not. But if you're looking at houses, you can see the straight lines and the perfectly even lots. I mean, there's no differences in the yards at all. Hey, why hasn't this come through?
So why is that?
Because the West Coast is modeled off of the railroad system.
Oh, West Coast. That's right, West Coast.
Yeah, it makes sense, right?
Okay.
Okay, I have to find this again because gosh darn it, I selected go and it'll come in like 10 minutes. You know how that is, right? But I want to show you the lot block and subdivision. After this, I'm going to upload these in these slides so I never lose them. But man, oh man, I can't wait to show you the lot block and subdivision because you're going to see right away. I think it's because I kept the original size. That's probably, remember I told you I accidentally clicked original size. They probably were really big. So you're going to see, so remember, look at these perfectly square, like everything's perfectly square. Everything's perfect. But not, why are you not going through? What is your issue, Mr. Phone? I want to show everybody. So my Wi-Fi is off, which is like important. Is that picture too big or something? Oh man, I'm probably gonna get it 3 times later. You know how that works, right? Well, I might have to show you in a little while, but as soon as it comes in, we'll hear it because it makes a loud noise when it comes in, and I'm going to show it to you because right when you see it, you're going to be like, oh my God, yes, that's a total difference. Okay, so let me go back to my class slides. Let me move this thing out of the way here and move this. I'm going to go back here to my class slides. I'm going to move this back up out of the way, and then we're going to move on. And as soon as it comes in, I'll pull it up, and you guys will 100% see the difference. It's so, so cool to see, especially, like I said, from the plane. And you'll never be in a plane again without looking out and realizing what you're looking at, which is really cool. All right, what has to have the legal property description? I already told you. Anything that goes to the courthouse. So deeds of trust, which you know are mortgages, right? Deeds of trust in the state of Virginia, we're a title theory state. So we don't have mortgages, we have deeds of trust. Okay, same thing though. Well, not the same thing, but
where's this located?
Oh, I made this myself. Sorry.
Oh,
you
okay.
can. If it's an ugly slide, I made it myself. Sorry. And there are some in there.
Okay.
Leases, if you're going to record them, most people don't record their leases, but if they want to record their leases, then they would have to have a legal property description. And of course, liens. Anytime somebody files a lien against the property, it has to have the legal property description on the lien, right? The lien paperwork. All right, so let's go through chapters 4 through 6. So Sam has obtained his broker's license, but is not functioning in a supervisory capacity. Instead, he's acting in the capacity of a salesperson. Sam is what? Is he a principal broker? Is he a salesperson, associate broker, or is he none of these choices? What do you guys think?
salesperson.
Yeah, he's a salesperson, but he's got his broker's license.
He's an associate broker.
He's an associate broker, absolutely. So if he has got his broker's license, he is a broker, but he doesn't have to be a principal broker and supervise people and take on overhead and liability. He can still just stay an associate broker and act as a salesperson. That's my husband. I'm a principal broker. And my husband is an associate broker. He doesn't want to be a broker. I tried to get him to be the broker. He would not be the broker. I didn't want to be the broker. I'm like, you be the broker now. He's like, no, I don't want to. He's like, oh, that's not me. And I was like, all right, I'm stuck with the broker job, right? And it's true. It's not his personality, so I get it. So he just is a salesperson. He's really kind of like a team leader. He helps all of the agents in the office, and he's a mentor, and goes on listing appointments with them and teaches them how to do things. So he is acting as a kind of a mentor, but he focuses on his sales. He doesn't care about that. Sales for me are number 2. Number 1 is, oh, yay! Did it finally come through? Finally, let's see. I assume it's me. All right, let me X out of this. Oh, of course it comes twice. Of course it comes twice. Oh my gosh, guys, I can't wait for you guys to see this. Wait till you see this. There you go. Is that checkerboard? No, that's not a checkerboard, is it? This is clear. This is a lot block and subdivision. Do you see the difference? Isn't that awesome? I mean, when I look down, I'm like, lot block and subdivision. I mean, it's pretty awesome when you're looking from the sky. Probably no one else is as nerdy as I am and all excited about this stuff, but it's really cool to me to see. And it's just, when you see it, you'll know. Okay. All right. So going back to the class now, the associate broker is the correct word because he has his broker's license. Now, there's a test on the question there's a question on the test, that one of the students told me about, and it says, I'll just use the same name because I don't know what the name of the person. Sam has obtained his broker's license, but he has decided he doesn't want to be in a position where he's supervising or managing people. He just wants to stay in sales. What does Sam need to do? And one of the choices was turn in his broker's license and go back to being a salesperson. He doesn't have to do that. He just becomes an associate broker. He does nothing. He just stays an associate broker, because as an associate broker, you have a choice. As a principal broker, you don't have a choice. You are, held liable for everything. You are required to train and supervise and make sure that you're managing the office and paying all the bills, right? As a salesperson, you are a salesperson, right? Your job is to sell to buyers and sellers and landlords and tenants, right? But as an associate broker, you could take a supervisory role. You could maybe manage an office, or you could just stay in sales. So you have the choice, but you don't have to turn in your broker's license to go back to a salesperson. No, when you have your broker's license, you just be an associate broker, and you have a choice. So that's why I tell everybody, go ahead and get your broker's license. Why the heck not? Then you have options. Okay. That's why I always tell people you have options. Okay. So there's that. Let's go on to the next one. When supply is down and demand is up, what do we have, guys?
Seller's market.
We got what we got right now, right? A seller's market. Demand is up. We don't have enough houses. Supply is down. We don't have enough houses. All right. Of the given choice, the best way to describe an irregularly shaped parcel is what?
Meets and bounds.
Meets and bounds, absolutely. No such thing as a constant survey. Geodetic survey is a type of, it's like a mixture, but there's nothing on your test. That's why they don't teach it in the class, because there's only one state that has it, if any. I mean, I think it's like Utah or something weird. All right. Government survey, you guys know, is perfectly symmetrical. So no, we know for a fact that's not it. And meets and bounds, we know, is going to be irregularly shaped. Same with block and subdivision. All right, a parcel of land that is 36 miles square would contain how many townships? All right, so we know their townships are 6 by 6. So how many would we see in 36 square miles, or mile square, sorry. I'm gonna tell y'all, it's 36.
Yeah, 36, okay.
That makes sense, right? Because you've got 36 miles this way, 36 miles this way. Guess what? You're gonna have 36 townships within that, okay? All right, let's go to this next one. All right, so this is where I told you. You gotta know that these numbers. All right, so a parcel of land is described as the south 1/2 of the northwest 1/4 of the northeast 1/4 of section 12, township 2 north, the right side of 4, right 4 east. Would contain how many acres? So you have to know how many acres are in a section. All right, and that's where that 640 comes in. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that 640, okay, and then we know we have 1/4, 1/4, and 1/2. So of that 640, I know I've got to divide it by 4, then divide it by 4 again, and then divide it in half, or you can mix up these numbers, it doesn't really matter, and then you got the answer of 20. So that's how many acres it contains, 20 acres, okay? Again, if you don't know 640, you're not going to get the answer right. An acre, 640. Okay? All right. So Anna owns a lot that contains 27 acres and is 972 feet wide. Okay, so we got that 972 feet wide. If she buys an adjacent lot that has the same depth but is only 640 feet wide, how many total acres of land will she own? All right, so we know this is 27 acres. We know this is 972, but we don't know this number, okay? So we got to figure out this number. So we know how many square feet are in an acre. Well, it's 43,560. So again, remember, you got to know this number. So if we take 27, because we know there's 27 acres here, and we multiply it by how many feet per acre, right? We would get 1,176,120 square feet. All right, so we know this parcel right here this is how many square feet are in it. Now we can easily find this number when we take this number and divide it by 972. That leaves us 1210. So we know 1210 times 972 equals 1,176,120 square feet, which if you divide it by 43,560 will give you a total of 27 acres. So we know now that this number right here is 1210. So knowing that this is 1210, we can multiply it by 648 feet and figure out what the acreage is here. So now we're going to take the 648, we're going to multiply it by this number right here, which was the 1210, and we know it's 784,080 square feet. All right, now we got to use this number again because it's how many square feet per acres, and we're trying to find acres, not square footage. So we now have to take 784,080 divided by 43,560, and that equals 18. So this block right here has 18 acres. Now the question is, how many total acres will she own? So now we have to add the 27 plus the 18. Now, if they just asked, how many acres is in this side? Well, you know the answer would be 18. So this is for people who don't read the question. You didn't read the question, you'd probably be like, oh yay, it's 18. And then you'd answer it and then you'd move on and then you'd got it wrong. But they're asking how many total acres. So you know it's 18 plus 27. And that answer is 45. Got it? If you remember 43,560, then you will get this question correct. Okay? If you don't remember 43,560 is the square footage per acre, you're not going to get, you have no chance. All
Can you
right.
just sit there for just 1 second? I'm sorry.
Sure. Let me scroll down here. Does everybody understand this?
He is playing around with it.
Mm-hmm. Well, and I will tell you this, there's a lot of people that are like, I don't do math at all. I'm like, well, then get strong on everything else. There's not that many math questions. So if you come across one, just guess and move on. If you really don't want to take the time to do it, or you just feel like you're totally lost, or you can't remember the 43, 560, just be strong on everything else. This is such a minor thing, right? There's a lot of contract questions. There's a lot of fair housing questions. If you're really strong in those, you will be fine. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
That's why I tell people, look at the number of questions per section. If there's not a lot, don't spend a lot of time on it. You know, spend a lot of time. In fact, guys, another crazy story, but I just got my insurance license because somebody wanted me to, and I do get paid for it, so that's pretty good. I'm just getting paid to refer people. That's it. I'm not going to actually be selling insurance ever, but I got it so that I can get, there was lots of story behind that, but it doesn't really matter. You know what I did? On the day of the test, I looked up the section with the most questions, and I literally, the day before, really, in the morning of, I just studied those sections, and I passed. So focus on the sections with the big questions, okay? And I know nothing about annuities. I know nothing about health insurance. I know nothing about any of that stuff. And I had to sit there and try to learn it all, and I still felt confused. And honestly, the day of my test, I kind of wished, I told myself, if I fail, I'm actually pretty grateful, because I probably should really take the time to understand what I'm talking about, or what I'm reading, or what I'm, learning and getting a license for. And I passed, and I was like, dang. Well, and guess what? And I told myself, I really got to go back and study this. But you know what happened, right, guys? That was in February, and I haven't touched it since. Dang it. This is what happens. So sometimes it's a blessing in disguise when you don't pass something, because it gives you the opportunity to learn even more. So I really told myself this morning, that same morning, I was like, man, I really hope I don't pass, because I really should have taken the time to learn more. All right, items that used to be personal property but have now been attached to real property are considered fixtures. Remember, they used to be personal property, but now they're attached. They're a fixture. All right, rights to water from a lake, sea, or ocean. Remember, they're going nowhere. And I always take the L, littoral, lake, littoral, right? LL, right? Rights to water from a flowing source, a running source. You take that R, riparian, and running, riparian, they go together, right? Water rights based on first in time, first in sight, first in right. Prior appropriation, again, you're not going to see it on your test, but here it is. Things that run with the land, in other words, they automatically convey, are appurtenances. They're attached to the land, okay? The increase in value, right? So we're talking about money that results from assemblage. We know that's plottage. Plottage is the money section. Chattel, personal property. Again, not going to see that on your test, but just good to know. Personal property attached to real property, which is used as part of someone's business. It's a trade fixture. So it still continues to be personal property, even if it's attached. The homeowner gets to take it with them. The act of removing something that was attached to the land so that it becomes personal property is called severance. A person who has his broker's license but is acting in the capacity of a salesperson for another broker is an associate broker or broker associate. We call them associate brokers. The type of modern legal description which describes the property's trees or boulders, we know as meets and bounds, right? Method of legal description which describes property in relation to the intersection of a baseline and meridian, government survey. A 6x6 parcel of land is a township. A 1 mile by 1 mile parcel of land is a section, right? Okay. Number of feet in a mile. Number of feet in a mile is 5280, which again, I told you guys, you're not going to need this. Okay. But the number of square feet per acre, you're going to need this. 43,560. You have to remember this.